Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. You know me, you love me, hopefully. I'm here to talk about movies. Specifically, Marvel movies. Now, I know, there's like a million of these things, but today we're tackling Phase 3. This is where things got really real, really big, and really purple. That's right, we're ranking every single movie from Phase 3 of the MCU, from the absolute bottom to the top of Mount Asgard. And look, I'm not gonna lie, this was a tough one. This phase was stacked with some truly incredible films, but even among the greats, there's always a hierarchy, right? So if you think my ranking is gonna be the same as yours, well, you're probably living in a quantum realm of delusion. But hey, that's the fun of it. We all connect with these movies in different ways, and I'm excited to share my personal ranking with you all. Before we hop into the Bifrost and journey into the rankings, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming Marvel madness. All right, let's do this. Kicking off our ranking at the, let's say, bottom of the list, we have Thor Ragnarok. Now, before you grab your pitchforks and hop in the comments to tell me I'm wrong, just hear me out. Ragnarok is visually stunning, I'll give it that. The colors pop off the screen, the production design is fantastic, and it's clear that director Taika Waititi brought a very distinct visual style to the MCU. However, and this is a big however, I felt like the humor was often too much. It felt like every other line was a joke, and while some of them landed, a lot of them just fell flat for me. The humor undercut the stakes and the emotional weight of the story, which is a shame because there were some genuinely heartfelt moments sprinkled throughout. Don't get me wrong, I didn't hate Ragnarok. It's a fun, visually entertaining movie, and it definitely breathed some fresh air into the Thor franchise. But for me, it relied too heavily on its comedic elements and sacrificed some of the heart and emotional depth that I've come to expect from Marvel movies. It just felt a little too surface level for me, especially considering the cosmic and emotional stakes of the story. I wanted to feel the weight of Asgard's destruction more. I wanted to feel the emotional turmoil of Thor and Loki's relationship more, but the constant barrage of jokes kept pulling me out of the moment. Next up on our list, we have Doctor Strange, a movie that, on paper, should have been right up my alley. I mean, come on, a brilliant but arrogant surgeon who learns the secrets of magic and alternate dimensions, sign me up. But unfortunately, Doctor Strange just didn't quite cast its spell on me. One of the biggest issues I had with the film was its predictability. The story felt very formulaic, hitting all the familiar beats of the origin story trope. We see Stephen Strange's fall from grace, his reluctant journey of self-discovery, and his eventual rise to become the Sorcerer Supreme. It's all very competent, but it lacks that spark of originality that I've come to expect from Marvel. And let's talk about the villain for a second, Caecilius, played by the always talented Mads Mikkelsen. Sadly, even Mads's incredible acting chops couldn't save this one-dimensional baddie. Caecilius's motivations are paper-thin, and he ultimately just boils down to another generic destroy-the-world villain. I wanted to be wowed by the magic system, captivated by the exploration of the multiverse, and invested in Stephen Strange's journey. But the movie just felt like it was going through the motions, playing it safe and relying on familiar tropes, instead of pushing the boundaries of the superhero genre. All right. Coming in at number 3, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 2. Now, I know some of you might be surprised to see this one ranked this low. The first Guardians was such a breath of fresh air, so funny and charming, and this one definitely has those elements too. But for me, it stumbles a bit. The whole fatherhood theme, while interesting, felt a little overplayed. We had it with Peter and Ego, of course, but then Gamora and Nebula had their whole thing too. And even Rocket and Yondu had their own father-son dynamic going on. It was a lot, maybe even a bit too much for one movie to handle effectively. Don't get me wrong, there are things I really like about Vol. 2. Visually, it's stunning, maybe even more so than the first one. The colors just pop off the screen, and the soundtrack, again, is absolutely killer. Plus, you can't go wrong with Baby Groot, right? But ultimately, I think it lacks a bit of the magic that made the first Guardians so special. It's funny, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't quite reach the comedic heights of the original. And the emotional beats, while definitely there, didn't hit me quite as hard. Moving on to number 4, we've got Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now, after the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies, I think we were all a little apprehensive about another reboot, right? But Marvel, in their infinite wisdom, knocked it out of the park. This was the Spider-Man movie we'd been waiting for. Tom Holland is Peter Parker. He perfectly captures that youthful energy, that awkward charm, and yeah, that teen angst that makes Spider-Man so relatable. And the high school setting? Genius! It brought a freshness to the character that we hadn't really seen before on the big screen. But what really elevates Homecoming is how grounded it feels. This isn't some epic, world-ending threat. It's a smaller, more personal story about a kid just trying to figure out his place in the world, both as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. And let's not forget Michael Keaton as Vulture. Talk about a phenomenal villain. He's menacing, he's sympathetic, and he poses a real threat to Peter, both physically and emotionally. This is how you do a comic book movie villain, folks. Coming in at number 5 is Black Panther. Now, this movie is more than just a superhero flick. It's a cultural phenomenon. It's a celebration of Black excellence, a visually stunning spectacle, and a thought-provoking exploration of complex themes like isolationism versus globalization. The world building in this film is top-notch. Wakanda is brought to life with such vibrancy, such detail, that you almost feel like you could step onto the screen and experience it for yourself. It's a feast for the eyes, with stunning costumes, breathtaking landscapes, and innovative technology. But beyond the visuals, Black Panther also boasts a stellar cast. Chadwick Boseman, rest in power, delivers a powerful, nuanced performance as T'Challa, a king grappling with his responsibilities and his own personal demons. And Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger? Wow, he's easily one of the best MCU villains, a complex and tragic figure driven by pain and a desire for vengeance. You understand his motivations, even sympathize with him, even if you don't agree with his methods. Okay, we're really getting into the heavy hitters now with Infinity War. And man, where do I even begin with this one? It's an epic, sprawling story that spans the entire cosmos, bringing together almost every single hero we've met in the MCU up to this point. But for me, what makes Infinity War truly special is its villain, Thanos. We've seen glimpses of Thanos before, but this movie really delves into his character, his motivations. He's not just some power-hungry madman, although he certainly is mad. He genuinely believes he's doing the right thing, that wiping out half the universe is a necessary evil to save it. Josh Brolin's performance is just phenomenal, bringing a surprising amount of depth and even a strange sense of sympathy to this character. He's terrifying, imposing, but there's also this weird sense of sadness, even regret in his eyes. It's a performance that elevates the entire film, turning what could have been a CGI-heavy slugfest into something truly special. And those opening scenes, man, with Thanos decimating Xandar and then going toe-to-toe with Hulk? Chills. Okay, after the heaviness of Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp felt like a breath of fresh air. Don't get me wrong, I loved Infinity War, but this film reminded us that the MCU can also be fun, lighthearted, even downright goofy at times. Paul Rudd is just so effortlessly charming as Scott Lang, and Evangeline Lilly really steps into her own as Hope Van Dyne, aka the Wasp. Their chemistry is fantastic, and the action sequences are incredibly creative, especially with the whole shrinking and growing dynamic. I mean, where else are you going to see a giant Hello Kitty Pez dispenser used as a weapon? It's those kinds of inventive, unexpected moments that make the Ant-Man films so enjoyable. They don't take themselves too seriously, and that's a welcome change of pace sometimes. Captain Marvel. This movie had a lot riding on it, being the first female-led film in the MCU. And you know what? It delivered. Brie Larson absolutely embodies Carol Danvers, bringing a strength, humor, and vulnerability to the role that's impossible not to root for. We see her journey from a skilled but somewhat unsure pilot to one of the most powerful beings in the universe. And along the way, she has to confront not only external threats, but also her own past, her own struggles with identity and self-doubt. It's a classic superhero origin story, but it's told with such heart and conviction that it feels fresh and exciting. Plus, the action sequences are phenomenal, showcasing Captain Marvel's incredible powers in all their glory. We're getting to the heavy hitters now, folks, the top 3 of the MCU's Phase 3. And kicking it off at number 9, we have Avengers Endgame. Now, I know, some of you might be surprised. Endgame was a cultural phenomenon, a culmination of over a decade of storytelling. It was epic, heartbreaking, and gave us a truly satisfying conclusion to the Infinity Saga. So, why number 9? Well, for me, Endgame's strength also becomes its weakness. It's very much a film designed to be a finale, a victory lap after the emotional gut punch that was Infinity War. It relies heavily on the audience's pre-existing knowledge and emotional investment in these characters and their journeys. Don't get me wrong, watching Cap wield Mjolnir or that iconic Avengers Assemble moment, those gave me chills. The sheer scope of the final battle is unlike anything we've seen in a superhero film before. But, and this is just my personal preference, it lacks a certain individual spark that some of the other Phase 3 films possess. Endgame is an incredible achievement in blockbuster filmmaking, a love letter to fans, and a testament to what the MCU has built. It's a film everyone should experience at least once. However, when I think about the most rewatchable, the most emotionally resonant films of Phase 3, Endgame for me sits comfortably in the very strong number 9 spot. At number 10, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. This was a fun adventure that took Peter Parker out of his comfort zone and threw him into some spectacular European locations. I mean, who doesn't love a good European vacation, right? The film expertly captures the feeling of being a teenager on a school trip while also juggling the weight of the world, or at least half of it. And speaking of juggling, let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Gyllenhaal brought a certain gravitas to the role, and his dynamic with Tom Holland's Spider-Man was electric. You could feel the mentor-mentee relationship building, even when you knew Mysterio was going to turn out to be the villain. The special effects in this film were also top-notch, particularly the illusions created by Mysterio. That sequence in Berlin, where he messes with Peter's mind, was visually stunning and psychologically thrilling. And finally, at number 1, it's Black Panther. This film was a cultural phenomenon and a watershed moment for representation in superhero cinema. It was so much more than just another superhero movie. It was a celebration of African culture, a powerful exploration of social issues, and a visually stunning masterpiece. From the moment I stepped into the vibrant and technologically advanced world of Wakanda, I was hooked. Chadwick Boseman delivered a performance for the ages as T'Challa. He brought a regal presence, a quiet strength, and a deep sense of responsibility to the role. His portrayal of T'Challa was both inspiring and heartbreaking, and his legacy will continue to inspire generations to come. But Black Panther wasn't just a one-man show. The supporting cast was equally phenomenal, with Michael B. Jordan's Eric Killmonger standing out as one of the most complex and compelling villains in the MCU. And there you have it, folks. That's my ranking of every Marvel movie in Phase 3. It was a tough one, but I'm happy with where each film landed. Do you agree with my list? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get a debate going. I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.